We're playing a whole lot of real or fake with Media Day quotes today. Will the Golden State Warriors change their style? Is Klay Thompson a change of scenery guy? And a whole lot more right now on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there. Welcome back to the Locked On NBA podcast. We're having so much fun. We're just goofing around. We've been goofing around for like 5 minutes before we even recorded the show. But we're so happy that you are here to catch the serious portion of our conversation, which we do on Wednesdays here. I'm one half of the Wednesday crew, John Karalis, host of the Locked On Celtics podcast. Find me on Twitter at John_Karalis.
And I'm Jake Madison, host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast on Twitter, X, whatever it's called, at NOLA Jake.
It's forever Twitter. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's like really what it is.
I don't care. It's always going to be tweets. It's always going to be Twitter. I got a head start on Media Day because the Celtics are currently in Abu Dhabi. So the Celtics did their Media Day thing last week. You got a chance to get on the floor. You had some, on the floor talking to people one-on-one. Check Jake's Twitter feed because he had a great who is it? Trey Murphy's question to me. So what I wanted to have fun on Media Day, right? Like we've got to have a little bit of fun here. We're going to have fun in today's show too. At Media Day with the players that I got some one-on-one interviews with, I asked them, is there anything you want to ask me? And Trey Murphy's question, and I'll pull this out to all of our listeners because there is an actual answer to this, was you're playing 30 minutes in an NBA game and you're getting up 20 shots. How many points are you scoring? And my answer was 0, like absolutely 0. Right. So I question, like, are you giving me 20 shots? Because I'll hit a couple if you're leaving me open.
So my question was like, I'm playing against NBA players, and he was like, yeah, and I was like, oh, it's definitely 0. Even if they're gonna block every one of my shots, and I'm not short, right? Like I'm like 6'1", 6'2", so it's like I'm not tiny, but I'm not an NBA player.
Are you like that? That's my question. Like, are you being tightly defended? Because at that point, the question is even wrong because there's no way you're getting a single shot up if you're being
that's fair
in the NBA. But if they're backing off of you and you're getting 20 open looks, I feel good. Even from NBA range, I feel good that I might hit 2. I go for 2 for 20 from 3.
You've got some playing experience at a higher level than I do, couple higher levels than me here. I assumed it was like you're just a player on the team and they're going to treat you like a normal NBA player, but I'm actually just me. And so put me in the Jose like Alvarado role, right? Like I'm actually taller than him. So, put me there. I'm not scoring a single point.
Yeah. If we're playing a game of real or fake, it's very fake. It's very fake that you can score a single point.
Yeah.
In the NBA. And let's say put anybody that's not an NBA player on the NBA floor, real or fake, you will score. No, it's fake. You will not score.
Trey was happy I said 0 because it's like, that's the correct answer.
He was very happy. That is the actual answer. So let's just keep it going. Let's keep playing our favorite game. The whole show.
Is this real or fake? Just ask John and Jake.
Jake Madison, let's go. Oh, whoa, that was on loop. No,
I like it. Just background music all episode here.
30 minutes of that high-pitched squeal. Let's start our real or fake with this quote from Steph Curry, who says, quote, I know there is a warrior mentality and culture of how we do things. There's a system that we've run for a decade plus that has worked. It doesn't necessarily mean that's how this team needs to play. Real or fake, Jake? The revamped Golden State Warriors without Klay Thompson, with some new bodies in there, are going to play a different style of basketball.
I'm going to say fake. I don't think that's the case here. And when you look at Steph's quote with that kind of in the larger context, it was kind of around the idea of like, we're going to kind of be who we are in the beginning and maybe we need to adjust depending on if that works. But like their whole thing, and this was a big theme at Pelicans Media Day, is like small ball, right? You know, them playing kind of small with that death lineup around Draymond Green and all of those things. If you want to get away from that, you probably need a passable center. And do they have one on the roster? When you look at the makeup of their team, I'm on Basketball Reference right now. Literally no one on their roster is listed as a center right now, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
how are they going to play a different style? And I don't think there's really an answer to that. So maybe you could. I don't think it's going to go particularly well. Steph is still Steph. There is an ideal way to use him. I interviewed Herb Jones one-on-one, one of the elite defenders in the league, and he said the toughest guy to defend is Steph Curry. For one of the better defenders in the league to say that, why would you do anything differently with Steph Curry then in that Warriors team when that's what people think about him and what he's still capable of doing? So no, I think it's fake.
Well, the reason why is because he's going into his 16th year in the league, and he turns 37 in March. So he's 36 years old. He's still, slight. He's still, runs more than anybody. And, remember his career started with ankle issues, and maybe, I don't want to say it's going to end with ankle issues, but at 36 years old, playing that style of basketball is tough. And I'm going to say it's real because of that fact that Steph, I don't think he can do everything that he's done. The level of running that he's had to do over the course of his career to be Steph Curry, I just don't think it's quite as possible. Not going to go away, but maybe it's 80% of the time. Maybe it's 70% of the time. Maybe it's less. I don't know. He also played in the Olympics over the summer, and he played hard in the Olympics over the summer. So,
but it took him a little while to break out too and play well. Like he wasn't kind of the Steph Curry we know and love from like game one. It was kind of later in their run that you really saw him getting going. So it speaks to your point about that, right? Like what's the fatigue on his legs? Like what does he have left? I think there's still a lot, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So he's not going to play in all of these games. He's, he played 74 last year, 56, 64, 63, working backwards, various injuries and stuff like that you're going to want to avoid, which means you're not going to run the Steph Curry offense without Steph Curry out there, and Klay is gone. So that stuff, that whole playbook, the famous split action playbook, like you could still run some of that, but you're not running it for Brandon Pujemski or, Kevin Knox, you're not Jonathan Kuminga. You're running it. You're not doing it. You have to find something that fits those guys. You still have Draymond in there, but Draymond is older and he's not capable of doing everything he's been able to do before. Players change, guys get older. I think the style in Golden State has to change if they are going to be as like one of the things that stuck out for me in Golden State is how they talked about being relevant versus a champion. This is a huge turning point here in the West. They have to change something to be successful.
Yeah, the ideal thing to change would be their roster, I think, but that's easier said than done. Saying this, let me ask you this. Real or fake? The Warriors should just go into a rebuild right now.
I want to say it's real. I feel like but they can't. I don't think they can.
No, they can't.
Unless you trade Steph Curry and get like a bunch of assets for him. But I don't even know if you can do that because of the second apron stuff. Like it feels like they're kind of, it's not like you're trading Curry to, the Milwaukee Bucks or to like an Eastern Conference contender. You're not sending him to say the Indiana Pacers because you have to match salaries basically exactly. And you can't do 2-for-1s or 3-for-1s. You can't aggregate players. It's difficult to make any of these moves. So I think under the old system, maybe, but they're stuck. I think the only thing the Warriors can do is just try to make this as soft a landing for Steph Curry's final few seasons, however long he's going to play, and hope that he can play out the entirety of his career in Golden State and not end up like playing 2 seasons in Charlotte because he's going home.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Like, they should, but you're right. The realities of the situation is like they really can't, and they're very limited on what they can do, and they're aware of that. Look, they could probably go make a move for Brandon Ingram today if they wanted to, but they don't seem to want to do that, knowing how much money they're paying kind of some of these guys, and it just does feel like, okay, so Steph will retire, and we have Brandon Ingram on a max deal, and look, no one wants that right now, so. You kind of run into that situation of it's like it's tough to figure out what to do with that Warriors team other than, can they get the 6th seed and barely get out of the play-in tournament? And I don't know if the answer to that is yes.
Let's play real or fake with the former Warrior, Klay Thompson, and the Dallas Mavericks, the Western Conference champs. Let's do that when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook, giving everybody, especially NFL fans, a chance to start the season with a big return. If you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you're watching and you're like, I think this thing is happening. You open up your phone and you go, okay, you go to the FanDuel app, the same page where you make your bets, the stats are right there. The stats are on the page and you go, oh, okay, yes, this is what's happening. I'm going to make my second half bet on this. Very easy to do. You place that first $5 bet, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed from FanDuel. So very easy to kind of cash in on that $5 bet. Doesn't matter if you win or lose, you'll get those bonus bets no matter what. Go to FanDuel.com, sign up, make sure you're using the tools that are there so you can set your limits, set your budget. People, we don't want you to go, overboard. We want you to have fun with your disposable income. Gamble responsibly at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. For your second listen, go check out all of our Locked On podcasts across the network. We just talked about the Warriors, Locked On Warriors, Locked On Mavs is going to have this next topic covered. Obviously, Locked On Celtics, Locked On Pelicans. Whatever big thing is happening in the league, there is a Locked On team-specific podcast covering it. So go check them out. Klay Thompson, now a former Warrior, current Mav, and he had a quote that I thought was really interesting, talking about how going to the Warriors, going to the Mavs, he said, this summer is so big for me. The last 2 years was so tough for me. He says he got caught up in everything and he forgot why. I forgot why I played this game. So that got me to thinking, that sounds like a classic change of scenery guy. So Jake, real or fake, Klay Thompson is in fact a change of scenery guy. Going to Dallas is going to rejuvenate his career, and he's going to have his best season in 3 years.
So I'm going to go real with this. I originally wanted to say fake and be like, is this the same Klay Thompson that we saw go 0-4 in his final game as a Golden State Warrior that at times has looked kind of washed last season? But I started thinking more about this, and I think you can maybe look at his career mirroring a guy like his head coach, Jason Kidd, a little bit, where Kidd at times kind of seemed done and a little bit cooked, but then reinvented himself as an elite three-point shooter and now ranks really highly for his career in all of those categories. I wanted to say Klay was washed here. And then you look at his last 2 years in Golden State when he was relatively healthy for them and everything, still took 10 3-pointers a game and made him at a 40% rate. Does he need to do much more than that in Dallas? When you have Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, he is going to be wide open for three regularly. And as long as he can catch and shoot, he's going to be good for him still. It's really as simple as that. That's why they brought him in. The big issue with them, or one of the big issues against the Boston Celtics, was they didn't have enough three-point shooting to keep up with Boston. Now you add what should be an elite spot-up three-point shooting guy, even though he's on the tail end of his career. We've seen those guys work at the NBA level. Jason Kidd, his head coach, is an example of that. So I actually want to go with real. I think he's just needed something different, kind of put those past couple of years behind him, and now he can feel like it's a fresh start. And sometimes that mental side of it is all you need.
I agree with you. This is real. This is very real. In fact, I having heard that quote, it really kind of like knocked like this feeling into me like, oh man, this is going to be good for them. And I don't but I don't buy into player quotes like that very often. But with Klay, it's different because he's such a genuine guy. And the way he was saying it wasn't even like, it didn't even feel like it was part of an answer. He was just, you could tell he was talking from the heart, where he was, these last 2 years have been so tough. And saying, I forgot why I played this game. I think that says a lot about the dysfunction in Golden State and his recovery from serious injuries and coming to grips with, I'm not what I used to be. And I can tell you that no matter who you are at what level of basketball ability, whenever you are not what you used to be, it's a kick below the belt. And for some people, it comes with age. For some people, it comes suddenly with injury. And if this is a 2-year, like, you know what, I just needed a new thing, a new place, a new role. Sometimes it's easier to say, I'm going to be a different type of player when you're wearing a different uniform and you're in a different city. It's like being a different person in a relationship. When you're with the old person, it's hard to change who you are. But when you're with the new person, you'd be like, you know what? I do like Kale now. You know, it's just different. So I do think that playing off of Luka, playing off of Kyrie, playing off, you know, the bigs that they have, the rolling bigs and they have, you know, good passing out of the short roll from their bigs. Like, they have opportunity to really feed him for a lot of catch and shoots. I think the change of scenery is going to be good. Hearing that quote from Klay makes me think like, damn, I think this is going to be a big deal for the Mavs.
It does. And the other thing is this too, when you look at Klay Thompson, you know, compared to say the Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry, his contract is super reasonable, reasonable, right? $15.8 million this year, 16.6 next year, 17.4, 17.5 after that. It's tradable. If it doesn't work out, like, you could just move him. That's right. True. Like, it's really easy. And I think some flexibility, we'll get into this in the next segment. Some flexibility can be a good thing. You know, Klay Thompson at that price is kind of exactly what they want. Someone who has an edge. Look, even if he's not the same Klay that he once was, right? He's still on the scouting report for opponents. He's still Klay Thompson. They're not going to just leave him wide open. So even if he's not shooting at a 40% rate, even if he can't move as much as he used to be able to do, teams are still going to respect him. And that, like, kind of looming threat of he could break out at any moment, I think is something that's an important thing to have with that team as well. Because, yeah, he's going to be open and he's going to get those shot attempts.
Not only are teams going to respect him, his teammates are going to respect him for what he's been able to accomplish in the league. He has the championship DNA, so to speak. Yeah. You know, he's been there multiple times. He knows what it takes. It's an important thing. I know Kyrie's been there and he knows what it takes, and they just got to the finals. And, you know, I know it didn't go well, but they've taken that long road. So having that extra guy there, but it's important to have a guy with Klay's kind of resume for a guy like Kyrie, because Kyrie does respect the greatness. And I think that's just an important thing for the Mavs, just to know that Klay Thompson, he's lost to Klay Thompson many times. Yeah. Kyrie has lost to Klay Thompson many times. There are going to be stories that be like, I remember when you did this to us. They're going to have those stories in the locker room. That just means that they are going to make sure he gets those shots, he gets those looks. There's not going to be any like, oh, I hope he fits in. They are going to make him fit in.
Let me ask you, I have one thing that kind of concerns me about it a little bit. So Jason Kidd does publicly like to criticize his players and kind of hold them accountable. You even saw some of it at Media Day with like Luka Doncic being like, yeah, he's got to defend much better. You know, the first time something goes wrong, and if he tries to motivate Klay Thompson through the media and, you know, throws him under the bus or does something like that, how do you think that's going to impact Klay, having just kind of been like not run out of Golden State, but he felt disrespected there, I think is safe to say. Do you think there's potential for that to blow up a little bit? Like, is it a combustible situation to you at all?
I don't think so. I think Klay is still kind of an easygoing guy.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's going to take any of that personally. Also, when you know that going in,
Yeah.
you know what his style is. You like when you hear him say some things, you're going to be like, that's just J Kidd being J Kidd. So you know why he's doing it. Then, you know, it's like if you and I were going out and we're busting each other's chops, like, you know, doing the guy thing where we kind of like insult one another. If somebody were to say some of the things that we say to each other to our face, you'd be like, who the hell are you? But when we, you know, you have some fun with one another, it's like, I know where it's coming from. So like, it's okay. It's
yeah.
cool. So
it's like where like trash talk is your love language kind of thing.
Yeah.
Cause if I'm not making fun of my friends, it probably means like, I don't like that person. So I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have no concerns about that. I think Dallas is going to be in a really good spot. Like, I think I don't like necessarily saying rematch, you know, just because these are the two teams that made it to the NBA finals the previous year. But the Mavs did get better, and this is a real step in the right direction for a rematch. So, I think it's all real. We're going to go rapid fire. We got 3 more quotes. We got 3 more things to play real or fake. Let's do 3 quick in the final segment, including whether Paul George's departure from the Clippers was addition by subtraction. Okay, sure. Let's do that next. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the place to go for last-minute tickets, especially last-minute tickets to everything. Sports, a concert, theater, comedy show. If they're selling it online, there's a good chance you're going to find it over at Game Time. And if you use that Game Time Picks feature, it will filter out the fluff so you only get incredible deals on great seats, so you do not have to waste your time. No one wants to waste time on an app unless you're doom scrolling, and you don't want to doom scroll through tickets. You want to buy your tickets and get out. Toggle the all-in pricing so you're not surprised by additional fees at checkout. Turn that on. Your seat views, you see the panoramic view from your seat, so you know this is what I'm going to see when I get there. If you're worried about getting the lowest price, they will guarantee you the lowest price by crediting you 110% of the difference if you find that ticket somewhere else for less. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You will get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right. We're going to rapid fire our real or fake.
Lightning round here. I'm excited.
Lightning round. Let's go.
Is this real or fake? Just ask John and Jake.
Real or fake? The Clippers, according to Norm Powell, are the loss of Paul George is addition by subtraction. Real or fake, Jake Madison?
Do I really need to do this one?
Do it.
For the everydayers of Locked On NBA or the every weekers of Locked On NBA, what do I think about the Clippers offseason? So this one is fake. This one is as big of a fake as I could do it. If I was allowed to swear on the show, I would absolutely swear right now. Like, I want a big red neon sign that says fake. I'm so down on this Clippers team and what they've done. And good. I'm so happy for you, Norm Powell, that you think you are the best basketball player there and that you're going to be fantastic. But this is so freaking fake.
It is fake. It is
Throwing
fake.
Things.
I am not as like thrown by it as Jake is. I understand what he is saying in that it's giving other guys opportunities that they didn't have. And so more guys are going to get opportunities. He is confident in
Who are those guys?
the guys like Norm Powell is one of them.
Can't wait
James
for
Harden.
Mo Bamba to play a
James Harden
starring role
yeah, I
here.
know. The shell of James Harden is going to get more opportunities. I appreciate that Norm Powell is giving his teammates the love to say, no, we don't need this dude. But the reality is it's fake. This is a big mistake. And nobody that the Clippers have is going to be enough to add up to a winning season. Sorry.
Yeah, look, I'm so happy they brought back, Nick Batum and his 5.5 points per game for Philadelphia last season.
All right, next one up, real or fake, Jake? You were there with the Zion Williamson one. Explain to me what was said.
So this is a twofold. I have part of the exact quote in front of me, but Bryson Graham, the Pelicans GM, David Griffin as well said they want to see Zion shoot more threes, more mid-rangers. Zion, after training camp today, said, I feel pretty confident in the mid-range right now. I'm a capable three-point shooter. Do you want to see real or fake? Zion Williamson needs to expand his game and shoot more threes and shoot more mid-rangers and get out of the paint a little bit.
I mean, okay, I know what you're going to say. So I'm going to say real just because I would like to see him expand that game to set up the stuff that you're going to talk about. So I would like to see him shoot a couple more jumpers just so the defense isn't packing the paint. And my theory is actually, if you are not a great shooter, then all of your jump shots should just be 3-pointers because the few that you hit are worth more. So if you're just a bad jump shooter, then you might as well take the threes because you're just going to get those 3 points whenever you hit. So yes, I would like to see him take a few more threes to soften up, just to keep the defense honest. But I want to see him be like good at those. And I think maybe part of getting good at those is taking them in games. But I know that you have a different take on this.
I have math that I ran. I don't know why it's doing that, but I have math here that I used for all of this to try and prove a point here. And it's what I'm talking about on Locked On Pelicans.
Your math.
Professor Jake here. So Zion shot 67.4% in the restricted area last season on almost like over 10 attempts per game. Only Giannis is the player that took more attempts in the restricted area. That comes out to the equivalent, if you're looking at it on like a points per shot attempt thing, to 45% from three. And that was with teams packing the paint against Zion Williamson. That was actually a down year for him. It's usually like 72%. So unless Zion Williamson is shooting above 45%, the best shot for him, even with 2 or 3 defenders down there on a large enough sample size, is to go right at the rim and try and score that way. So there is that. When you look at his mid-range shot attempts from in the paint, but not in the restricted area, he shot 38%. That's not a great number. So if you want him to kind of be the best version of himself, it's just attacking the basket because that's what Zion does best. This is also why I've long said you can't really space the court for him. Unless a shooter is 45% or better from three, if you're a coach, you're just going to be like double Zion and leave that shooter open because the percentages kind of math out in your favor a little bit. It's really tough to figure out what to do with him. That said, here's my asterisk on it. I'm kind of with you a little bit. If you're open in the corner from three, like take them. Just not a ton. Don't fall in love with it. Pick your spots well on this, on when you're going to do it. But yeah, I don't mind him breaking that out every now and then. Before we recorded, you made a good point on this. Can help with longevity too. Just shooting an open jumper versus plowing into dudes in the paint maybe saves your body a little bit. The big thing with him has been injuries. We talked about this, was it last week when we were talking about Antoine Walker? Do not become an Antoine Walker tale.
I gotcha. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Just a little bit. Just join
every now and then. You can convince me of that.
Okay. Final real or fake. Andre Drummond addressing the Philadelphia 76ers rebounding issues, said of himself, I am the best rebounder ever. Real or fake, Jake Madison? Andre Drummond is the best rebounder in NBA history.
There's some confidence from folks at Media Day here. How probably should be. But this is fake. Like, this isn't Look, he's a good rebounder. He's a good rebounder.
Good rebounder.
You're nowhere close to the best rebounder in history. Off the top of my head, I could probably come up with 10 players that I would put above him, and that's without even thinking, right? Like, he is nowhere close. And that gets, before we get into, he's big, he's tall. He's a near 7-footer if he's not, right? Look at someone like Charles Barkley, who was 6'6", and in all but 1 year of his career averaged double-digit rebounds. You know how rare that is? How much of an outlier it is? If we're going on like a foot-by-foot basis, Charles Barkley's better than him.
Yeah. Best rebounder by, pound for pound.
Yeah.
This is fake. This is fake. And he is a good rebounder. He is a good rebounder. And I do appreciate the confidence and all of that. And people will say, I think he may actually have one of, if not the highest rebounding percentages, defensive rebounding percentages that we've seen, is somewhere in the 40% range, which is nice. Okay. It's nice. It's an advanced metric that shows that, it's the advanced metric that he leans on to support his argument, which he has made multiple times. However, if you are the best rebounder of all time, you should lead the NBA more than 4 times in rebounding, where I look at the best rebounder of all time. Now, I say this with a little bit of an asterisk, because of all time includes an era in the 60s where the game was different. A lot of shots went up. Size was not entirely, rampant throughout the league. And Wilt Chamberlain averaged like 30 rebounds a game, and Bill Russell averaged like 25 rebounds. And those are outlier numbers. They were both incredible rebounders, and they have their own stake to this claim. But I'm going to say Dennis Rodman is the best rebounder of all time, because he led the entire NBA in rebounding 7 years in a row, and he did it on 3 different teams. If you, Andre Drummond, are the best rebounder of all time, you should have led the NBA many, many times. He's done it 4 times in total rebound, in average rebounding average, 4 times leading the NBA in his entire career. For Rodman at 6'7", to borrow your argument, to do it 7 times in a row, to be that good at this skill, and to have a grasp of this rebounding theory where he understands the angles the way he did and the way he went after those rebounds, that's just, you are not touching the skill of this rebounder. I'm sorry. No, I do not want to take away. I do not want to sit there and say he's not a good rebounder, Andre Drummond. He is a good rebounder, but the best ever? No, sorry. I'm going to leave it at that because we're out of time. So
yeah, that works.
We'll leave there and say thank you all for listening. Hope you've enjoyed our game of Real or Fake with Media Day quotes. We're going to get back to real games real soon. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get this podcast. Game nights are going to be a lot of fun around here. So subscribe, watch the show on YouTube, get into that comment section. Join us on Wednesdays here. I'm John Karalis, host of the Locked On Celtics podcast. Find me on Twitter at John_Karalis.
And I'm Jake Madison, host of Locked On Pelicans, on Twitter at NolaJake.
Check out Nick Angstead with tomorrow's show. I'm sure he's going to be psyched about Klay Thompson stuff. And then share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On NBA podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.